This kid, Jonathon Gannon, since week 8, they got the #2 defense in the National Football League.
Yeah, I got to put that in parentheses, though, because when you're facing, Trevor Siemian, Daniel Jones, Zach Wilson, Garrett Gilbert, and Jake Fromm, I kind of got to put that a little bit into perspective and can't get too crazy about it. Edition on a Tuesday. We got Dan Sileo sitting in once again for Barrett Brooks, and I am Harry Mays, and we got a lot of football to discuss. We'll talk a little bit about that god-awful game last night and the impact that it had on the Philadelphia Eagles and their playoff chances, and also their drafting position, because both were sort of in play last night. And there's some new injury updates with regards to the Eagles for this game against Washington, which is a must-win if you want to make the playoffs. And I got some questions about that for you, Dan, and for the people on the stream. And, just basically I want to find out from you before the end of the show today, really who you think, or who we think as a group, is really good in the NFL. Because I've seen a lot of bad football this season. Some of it not maybe the team's fault because of this whole virus situation and so forth, where you're down to like 4th string quarterbacks. You're plucking quarterbacks off of practice squads of other teams during the week of your game and all that kind of thing. But there's a lot of bad teams, and I want to figure out who is really good and if the Philadelphia Eagles are in that group before the end of the show today. What do you think about that?
And you got to remember, Harry, this is going to be a group exam. Everyone always looks at the quarterbacks. And by the way, last night, like you said, I thought the no-name defense of the Dolphins was out there. 8 sacks on Ian Book, kid. Hey, Duck, just do me a favor, Duck. 8 sacks last night. Holy cow, man. You know what? And I had no idea that the Saints were 7-7 going into that game. I know. What a great coaching job by Sean Payton going in.
They had won 2 straight coming into that. Remember, they beat the Tampa Bay Bucks in that
beat the brakes off them,
9-0 or whatever it was.
Yeah, they beat the brakes off them. So Harry, this year it's been so razor thin at the top with the really great teams.
Yeah,
and it's been really like a whole bunch of good football. It's funny. I have people come on my channel later on in the afternoon with the National Football Show. They go, Sills, 1 week you're here, 1 week you're here, 1 week you're there. And I'm going, that's the story of the league this year.
Yeah.
It's like 1 week we're talking about the Bucks being unbeatable or the Cowboys being unbeatable.
Or
then
the
they
Cardinals.
go through these horrendous trends, right?
Yeah.
So I would say this. Who have been the hottest teams over the last month? Because December football usually tells you, and it's traditionally ugly football. Then you start playing playoff football once you start getting into January. But look, the Packers right now, in my opinion, they're probably playing the best football because of the way they're playing on defense. Not just the fact that Aaron Rodgers is having another MVP season, but if you look, and think of this for a second too, Harry. So that guy, Matt LaFleur, the head coach of the Packers, has won 36 ball games in his first 3 years as head coach of the Packers. That is unfreaking believable that they have put that kind of number up with Aaron Rodgers. Hey, they were right to jettison Mike McCarthy because they were not going anywhere. Then you look at
he's been exposed.
City. Look how Kansas City has really, what was it? When they played, actually, I think it really started for them, their turnaround, when they played the Eagles. All of a sudden, since that Eagle game where they put up 200 yards rushing, I think it's been a different Kansas City team, and now they're sitting on top of the AFC. So if I had to pick the 2 best teams in the league right now, I don't think it's any coincidence that the quarterbacks you're looking at right now are Aaron Rodgers and Patrick Mahomes. Those 2 teams there, and probably the best coaching job, there's 2 of them. I think Mike Vrabel, the job that he's done without Derrick Henry in Tennessee. Yeah. And I think Sirianni's job, man. Getting that team to 8-7 has been remarkable.
Yeah, it is. It's one of the better jobs, of the league. There's no doubt about it. But Kansas City, I think, really turned their tables when they started to get a little healthier on the defensive side. They made the move for Ingram coming over from the Steelers. and they changed up that defensive front, moving guys, into sort of inside, outside, so forth. Their defense is way different than what it was in September and early October. And, when you say Tennessee, I was really impressed with what they did on Thursday night. I mean, they were a home underdog, and they were down 10-0 to the Niners, who were one of the hotter teams in the NFL coming into that week, and came back and found a way to get that game tied. And then Tannehill makes a huge play with his legs down the stretch and puts him in field goal range. I thought that was a really impressive win. And they may end up getting Derrick Henry back if they can stay in the playoff race long enough.
Absolutely. Supposedly he's coming back for the opening round of the playoffs. And by the way, what about Fredo Wentz and the job that he's done with that Colts team? I mean, they're now 9-6. He's going to throw 30. I've now learned a lesson here. Everybody Big Z was falling asleep when I brought up Wentz, so I have to name him Fredo. You're nothing to me. Fredo, every time my mother comes to the house, make sure you let me know when you're coming here, because I won't be at the link. I don't want anything to do with you, and I don't want to see you on Broad Street. Just let me know. I won't show up. Fredo Wentz, there we have it, but he's done a nice job. You got to admit it.
And he made a hell of a throw to find the back of the end zone, moving to his left. And, it was really tremendous. He hasn't turned the ball over. He hasn't been put in a lot of positions. I thought the coaching that Frank Reich has done has been masterful, too. Absolutely. I mean, they started out 1-4 also. We were starting to think, we were starting to wonder here, Sills, in early October, were they going to bench Wentz at some point just to save the draft pick, because there was no way they were going to be competing for a playoff spot. And then Henry goes down, and they started to go on a run, and you're like, man, all of a sudden they rattle off a couple in a row, and next thing you know, they're a playoff team.
That Jonathan Taylor, man, I mean,
unreal.
Dude, he is, if you think about all the Wisconsin running backs that have come out of that program, I mean, you have to go all the way back to Amici. I mean, look, the guy Ron Dane, not really all that much. Fletcher was kind of decent. I mean, they really were great college backs. This kid's turned out to be a hell of a NFL back. I mean, he's going to get 1,800 yards. He's in the MVP conversation. I mean, he catches the ball out of the backfield. And you know what? They remind me a little bit of what, if you took two teams and put them next to one another, don't you think that the Colts and the Eagles look alike? I mean, don't they look alike? Maybe you're getting a little bit more out of Wentz, but how about the philosophy? Run the ball, play great defense. I mean, they kind of look alike when it comes to how they want to move the chains. I'll tell you this, too, about your boys with the Eagles on defense. This kid, Jonathon Gannon, since week 8, they got the number 2 defense in the National Football League. Yeah,
I got to put that in parentheses, though, because when you're facing, Trevor Siemian, Daniel Jones, Zach Wilson, Garrett Gilbert, and Jake Fromm, I kind of got to put that a little bit into perspective and can't get too crazy about it.
So wait a minute here. You don't think the Giants had those 2 guys that were playing football for the Giants at quarterback, man? I mean, they couldn't make an Arena League team.
No, Glennon,
they
too.
Were terrible.
Oh, what? I mean, There was some hope for Glennon when he came out of college into the league. There was some
people. Do you know they gave him the job at NC State? Oh, they went to Russell Wilson at NC State and said Russell wanted to play his final year, his graduation year at NC State. So I forget, O'Brien, whoever the coach was down there, they go, we're going to give the job to Mike Glennon. So he transfers to Wisconsin, takes that team to a Rose Bowl, and now Mike Glennon is like some sort of journeyman dude, man.
It's unbelievable.
It's crazy, but they're both. I can't believe that the Giants are in the position that they're in, because that's good ownership. If you took the Jets and the Giants uniforms, and I don't know if you could make one team with those 2 guys, with those 2 units.
No, you're right. I couldn't imagine being a pro football fan in New York of one of those teams, or even a media person having to cover that stuff on a weekly basis.
Yeah, but Harry, you know what it is in New York. They're front runners. They don't give a crap. They're on to the Nets, or they'd rather cover a drama team than a real good football team. I mean, right? I mean, the New Jersey Devils won 3 Stanley Cups, and you wouldn't even know they were in the area.
Yeah, that's true.
That's what that place is. But again, man, like you said, passionate fans are the fans in New York that want to see winners, and you know what? They're not going to give it the time of day. Now in Philly, if you do, here's what I've learned about Philly, Harry. Hey, did you see the first 6 passes in that game on Sunday against the Giants? What the hell's that guy doing throwing the ball? We won. Hey, I don't care. I'm telling you right now.
Right.
That's not how you get it going here. That's going to come back to bite us. That coach doing that crap at the beginning of the game. I'm going.
That's right.
That's right. But
that's right. That's right. Because the Philly fan says the Giants stink on ice. And somewhere along the line, we're going to have to play a good football team. And that isn't going to beat a good football team. So that's the way we always look at it. We don't look at it for what it is right now. We're like always projecting down the line to say, hey, wait till the playoffs, or wait till the Cowboys on week 18. If they need the game, what are we going to do?
So, hey, what do you think of Sirianni and what he's done with this football team? You think he's a coach of the year candidate?
I think he's in the conversation. I like the way, the players respond to him. There's something, he's quirky. He's a little weird. I don't know that I'd respond to it quite the way some of these players have, but that doesn't matter about me. What matters is the locker room, and he seems to have command of the locker room, which is, one of the biggest things you can hope for in a coach at that level. And I thought, sort of the paradigm shift that he made between the Raiders game and the Lions game took a lot of stones, because the front office doesn't want to win this way. Okay, they just don't.
You think they hate this style?
I don't think that Jeffrey Lurie loves the fact that he's a run-first team with a quarterback that is primarily.
That makes no sense to me.
I know.
I mean, doesn't the one-loss record matter? So then, in other words, then he kind of hated the way that the Eagles won the Super Bowl in 2017. Because you won it with a dominant offensive line,
right, and a backup quarterback and all that sort of thing. I don't know that he hated that, because it was the great white whale, and they finally got it. And who cares how they got it? But I think he wants to win his next one with a quarterback that can dazzle from the pocket with a big arm. That's what I believe.
So do you think that Jalen Hurts then has passed the audition or not?
I think he's passed the audition for next year, simply because I don't think they're going to be able to get any of the veteran quarterbacks that may be in play. And I don't even know if Aaron Rodgers is going to be in play after all this.
No way. Why? Hey, and get this. Okay. Let's you and I have some common sense here. And you and I have been doing this a long time.
Right.
Why in the hell would you leave a position where I just told you won 36 ball games in the last 3 years? For what? To wet your whistle in New York with a horrible O-line?
No.
Or to try to do what – look at the end of the day – what LeBron James has done. Let's take him, for instance, here. He wins that bubble championship in Orlando, right? He's going to go out the same way that Kobe Bryant went out, on a horrible team, but he didn't go to the Lakers. He went to Los Angeles, and that's always a remedy for disaster. You have to go to a place. Like when Russell Wilson picks a team, he's not going to stay in Seattle. He's not going to go to Chicago. He's got to go to a place where it's ready-made, like New Orleans. New Orleans is 7-7 with a bunch of trash quarterbacks. I mean, seriously, you put somebody like Russell Wilson in New Orleans with Sean Payton as a play caller, that team will win 12 ball games.
They'll probably lose their defensive coordinator.
Can he go? Where's he going to go? Cleveland?
Oh, I could think of maybe Miami.
Miami, okay.
Miami's a spot that I know his wife would probably like.
Are you sure now, after what you're seeing with Tua Tagovailoa now, and how Tua's now put that team at 8-7? I'll tell you something. If you're Chris Greer, the general manager of the Dolphins, aren't you doing this now? I'll tell you what, man. I mean, look, if I get Rodgers or I get Deshaun, okay, then I'm going to really have to debate. Then I'm going to have to give up some of my future. Am I going to be? They're winning ball games right now, Harry. The Dolphins have a – I'm not going to take
They won 10 last year and missed the playoffs, and now they've won 7 in a row. And I saw last night they're the first team in history to ever lose 7 straight and win 7 straight in the same year. That is nuts.
How about him for Coach of the Year, Brian Flores?
Yeah, I like him. He's done a really nice job. He's done a great job. I love their weapons, though. I love their wide receivers.
Okay, so let me ask you this here because this is such an Eagle question. What are and I'm going to ask this question on my show later on, so let's do it here as well. So what are your expectations right now for this team? Are you looking forward to the playoffs? Do you want a playoff win? Or do you want a winning record? What would be the expectations as we get closer to the end of the season? Because things still have to fall in place for the Eagles to get, into the playoffs, a matchup. They're sitting in the 7-hole right now. They kind of control their own destiny. But still, if this season ended, what would be your expectation if it ends up landing on? It would land on what? Playoffs, playoff win, winning record.
Well, I'm going to say playoff win because I would say they're going to be the 7th seed lined up against the Dallas Cowboys. And I want to beat the Dallas Cowboys no matter when you play them, especially in the playoffs. To ruin their season would be spectacular.
So 120 minutes of football we're going to play against the Cowboys at the end of the year.
Yeah, the first 60 may not count, but the second 60 would be the 60 I'm concerned about. And if they can find a way to win that game and ruin their season, I don't care if they get beat by 30 the next week. Seriously.
What do you make of the Cowboys?
When their defense turns people over, they're very dangerous, and they've got they did that to Washington the other night, and you saw how they got out to that big lead. Dak looked pretty good because he's kind of a bully quarterback. He's good at playing from the front. Playing with the lead. I don't know how much I like Dak if he's down 2 scores and you need to make drives late in games to win them. But I like him when he's out in front.
Harry, you're not congratulating a fish for swimming, are you? I mean, you're supposed to beat the hell out of the Washington thing. Right?
What do you think about this week, though? Now, they were embarrassed on national television against
they're going to be fired. Oh, yeah. Didn't that fight on the sidelines, too?
Yeah. I think they're going to come to play.
Of course. I really
do.
Yeah. See, all the things that you just said, because, look, this is the East.
Mm-hmm.
So all the things that you said, Washington's going to go like this. Look, our season is pretty much over, except for this. Let's ruin the Eagles' opportunity at making it to the postseason. Let's go ahead, put our best effort forward.
Yep.
I expect, and if the Eagles think they're going to throw their helmet on the field, and, they're going to be full force from what I'm understanding, all the COVID guys are going to be back, you're going to be taking on a football team that they had a pretty good run in the middle of the year there when they ended up beating Brady and a couple other teams in there too. I think this is going to be a dogfight.
Well, yeah, and throw in the fact that there's no Miles Sanders now. We've learned that since yesterday. He's not going to play against Washington. And Jordan Howard had a stinger in the game against the Giants, and we don't know of his availability. The coach said he's hopeful that he can play on Sunday. So hopeful doesn't sound like a lock.
Yeah. And when I put my tooth under my pillow, I'm hoping the tooth fairy comes by and gives me $20. But hey, or I hope I hit the lottery.
Right.
You're now, and by the way, you're now at the end of the year here. Your identity is set. You're not going to surprise anybody. You have to go out and you have to pound this team. And I was telling everybody, this is kind of like a metaphor here. What I'm saying here, euphemisms or whatever you want to use. You got a football team that's dying on the side of the road right now. Kill it. Run it over with your car. Stick it with a knife.
Put it out.
Cut its head off.
Yeah.
Don't let it in any way feel that it could be resuscitated and keep those guys in a ball game. The Washington thing they want to get in their U-Hauls and go home.
Well, yeah.
Don't let them not delay that.
If this gets out to a 10-0 lead like Washington had last week, with Garrett Gilbert, and I thought he represented himself pretty well for just joining the team about 48 hours prior, 4 days prior to the game. But if that happens with their fresh starting lineup, it could be different. So, they can't take this team lightly. That's for sure.
They're not a football team it's going to go like. You don't have a quarterback that could throw you out of trouble, okay, is what I'm saying here with Jalen. Guys like Brady, guys like Aaron Rodgers, those kind of guys can Josh Allen has now turned that thing back
There's
around.
A handful and a half of guys that can do that in the league.
Yeah, that can throw you out of trouble. You're down 21 points. Patrick Mahomes, there's no lead safe. You get down like that against a team. Our team reminds me of Baltimore when healthy. That, how you beat the Eagles, get a lead on them. That's if I was the opposing offensive coordinator, let's spread these guys out immediately. Let's get a lead on them. Let's see how they play from behind. My opinion, I think the Eagles would struggle if you get in like say Dallas at the end of the year. They get a lead on this Eagle team. I think the Eagles will have a tough time because if you're built on running the ball, you're not going to have a lot of possessions. That means you've got to be able to not have those careless turnovers. What do you make of Sirianni on the sidelines jumping on Jalen's ass the way he does?
I loved it. I loved it
too.
I loved it because it worked on Tuesday night. That's when he got into his kitchen after that fumble. and they had just started out so poorly. And, you know, I stayed up the whole game and all the press conferences afterwards that night. I was wound up, and I listened to Jalen, was like, yeah, I basically I respond to that. I used to live with my coach because his father was his coach. And not only would he hear it at practice, he'd hear it at home too. So he's used to being coached. And I thought that was great. Just more of it. Let's get into his kitchen a little early.
How about this? You know, I asked Mike Quick that question about Fredo Wentz. If somebody went after Wentz like that on the sidelines, Mike Quick went like this. That team a year ago with Fredo Wentz running it would never have come back and won a game like that. And quite frankly, he would have just melted on the sidelines like that. I think it shows you the mettle of the kid too. Again, these are intangibles that you have to have at that position.
Yep.
I loved his answer too at the press conference when he was talking about a pass that he missed, and he was very meticulous. And
that was missing Goddard in the corner of the end zone.
Yeah.
That was really good the way he went through that. Yeah.
He went and broke down all the progressions and the things that he needs to see. I was like this. Yeah. That shows you that the kid's a savant, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, he's a real study. He's a real study of the game, and I really like that.
It was basically the pre-snap read that he got, took Goddard out of the play. And then the Giants changed their defense, or they ended up running what was the wrong defense for the way they were lined up. And he then had already thought Goddard's out of the play, so I'm going to go through this way with my progression. I thought that was I learned something.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know?
Me too. Because you know what I learned? I learned how he sees the game.
Yeah.
Okay, which made me think this. Okay, a lot of guys that come into the game, how many times did you hear Patrick Mahomes this year going, hey, this is really like the first year that I'm understanding true progressions of the game? How about when Michael Vick showed up in Philly? He goes like this is the first time I really learned how to read defenses because now Andy Reid is teaching me how to read defenses. And then you're listening to Jalen talk about progressions. You're talking about, you know, sky and disguises. You're talking about coverage and man and zone and flip zones and all that. And he's talking about like all the game, and he sees the game. I was like, wow, it taught me a lot about him. And it showed me that he's a true guy that sits down with the game film. For you to be that kind of guy, Harry, that means you got to be watching film like Brady 24/7 to understand that. And he knows that that's the key to Brady. The key to Brady is hard work, perseverance, and studying.
Right.
And that's what keeps Brady in the game.
First in, last out.
Absolutely.
Kind of guy. Yeah. Yeah, there's no doubt about it. I don't worry about him, you know, his work ethic or his desire to be great and improve on every day. I'm just gradually trying to fall in love more and more with the tangibles. I love all the intangibles. Don't get
Absolutely.
me wrong.
He's spectacular. Hey, so what do you think of Lane Johnson not making the Pro Bowl?
I don't really get caught up in the Pro Bowl, to be honest with you. Of course, he's deserving of it, but I think him missing a couple games, I think probably is what may have been the difference.
Yeah, so because the players vote on that.
Yeah.
Okay, the players vote on that thing, and I was thinking to myself, okay, so I was wondering if the 3 games missed because of personal issues that the players took offense to that. That leads me to this. Aaron Rodgers, is he your most valuable player?
Boy, good question.
By the way, Mr. Unvaxxed.
Yeah, right.
Be careful what you say because you know snowflakes will be jumping on you.
Oh, I know.
Yes.
I know. I want to. Now it's.
Dog, it's not close, really.
No, it's not. I'm trying to make a case for other guys. I'm looking at the other teams. I'm trying to make cases for the other.
Brady's got 11
players.
or 13 picks or something.
Right.
Got 4.
Yeah, it's got to be Rodgers. Now, where would you put Cooper Kupp in that? Is he in the conversation?
No way.
No?
He's a Christmas ball.
Okay.
Okay.
And yes, the stream wants to know if we are live. Yes, we are live today. This is a live show. I
don't do tape.
Yeah. No, but the reason we said that is because they reran our show on Thursday and Friday of last week. I guess our Wednesday show. And some of the streamers were up here trying to get us to talk to them, and they thought it was a live show. And it took a while till they realized it was.
You ever see that scene from The Godfather when the guy grabs the camera and throws Big Sills? No. Well, if you replay it, you'll know. Okay.
Oh, is that where was that Sonny? Did he rip the film right out of the camera?
Then he throws him a 20. Hey, no, get out of here. Get out of here. Get out of here.
Love Sonny. Yeah, it's got to be Rodgers. It's got to be Rodgers. It's got to be.
It's got to be Rodgers.
Yeah, it has to be.
You think they'll hold that against him? The vaccination?
I think some will. Yeah, yeah, and I would too. I mean, it's a blemish, but I still think he's the best. I still think he's the MVP.
And I look at it the same way, but then I look at Harry. Okay, so I'm watching the Packer game. Okay, and not to bore people here with this, but so Erin Andrews does her 10 feet interview with the guy, that social distancing thing, right? And then as soon as she thought the cameras weren't on her, she goes over and hugs the guy.
Right.
And I'm going like this. Yeah. So does Fox believe in it or not, or is this just TV? I mean, it's just. Yeah. It's hypocritical a little bit when you hear the media people, some of them saying it and not practicing it. And I'm just, again, I mean,
well, it's just like the politicians when they know they're not on camera, they take their mask off. But when the cameras come in, they're all masked up and ready to go. It's But I guess the sports networks all have news networks, so they have to continue with the sort of the gist of the whole thing. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So man. Now where would you put Jonathan Taylor in that MVP?
Here, let me here. It's got to be okay. And by the way, there's still 2 weeks here. Okay. There's still 2 weeks in this. I think it's Rodgers. I think it's Brady. And I think it's got to be Taylor. And you know what? Because I'll put the Christmas ball 5 because he's having a historic year.
He's having an unbelievable season.
Okay, he's having a historic year. So I'll say that you gotta put him in that conversation. Yeah. But I mean, look, wide receivers are the most dependent position in the NFL. And personally, I don't think you need big time wideouts to win football games. Who are the big wideouts? You'll have to refresh my memory. Who are the big wideouts for the Eagles in 2017 when you guys won the Super Bowl?
Alshon Jeffrey.
Oh, I mean, Mr. Locker Room Cancer himself.
Exactly.
Nice.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
So you had Alshon Jeffrey, and then who else?
It was Zach Ertz was the tight end.
Zach Ertz. Yeah. Okay. Tight ends are becoming a major part of the game. So we went from one wide receiver to a tight end immediately.
Right.
I don't see that. Look, who Brady winning those Super Bowls. Let's see. He won them with Deion Branch, Edelman, Amendola.
Who was the Brown? What was the guy?
Troy Brown.
Yeah.
The dual player. Who was the guy? Chris Hogan, who was a lacrosse.
He was a lacrosse player. Yeah. And then the tight ends.
Right? The killer himself.
Right.
Okay. No, I'm not talking about Jerry Lee. And then you had Gronk, right?
Josh Allen lost too many games, or he'd be in the conversation. He's unbelievable.
You know what? They came back against the Patriots, and I love how people in the media go like this. Well, they're back. They beat New England. I'm like, man, I think you've got to look over a stretch of games. Are you probably if you're Andy Reid, what quarterback would you fear the most going into Arrowhead? Would it be it probably in the AFC would be Josh Allen. Do you agree?
What about Burrow?
Wow.
Dude, he put 500
525.
Plus. Yeah. I mean,
dude,
he's unbelievable.
Fourth biggest number ever?
I think so, yeah. I mean, he's got great wide receivers.
I don't care if the Ravens were putting a scout team out there. 525,
4 touchdowns, man. No interceptions.
How about this future for the NFL? So you've got 1,000-yard back. You've got 2 receivers over 1,000 yards, and you got a quarterback that's over 4,500 passing yards. And they're all under the age of 26.
Yeah. That's
maybe
crazy.
24.
Yeah.
I mean, you talk about a future in Cincinnati.
They're not your grandfather's Bengals anymore. Okay.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
But Cincinnati.
Now, can you answer me this question? Since we have 7 teams in the playoffs and there's only 1 bye, let's say the Eagles play Dallas and Dallas wins. Does Dallas play the 1 seed the next week? It doesn't seem right that the 2 would play the 1 that early, even though 2 and 7 if the Eagles won that game, I would think they'd play the 1 seed.
The Packers would play the Eagles if they win.
Right, but if Dallas wins, they don't play the Packers. They probably seed it differently.
They would play
the 4-5 maybe, or
they would play like a team like San Francisco or somebody like that if they're in it, or a team like I don't think Minnesota's still in it.
No.
They would play one of those lesser teams. What other division? Maybe the Cardinals.
Yeah, the 4-5 game is Tampa Cardinals.
Yeah.
So I think they'd probably play the winner of that game.
Boy, man.
Yeah.
Now, where are the Buccaneers in this playoff picture for you?
Depends on Fournette to me. He's a big part of what they do.
Yeah.
You know,
them losing that defensive end they have.
Well, that's true. Yeah.
Losing Shaq was really
Shaq Barrett. Yeah.
Yeah. Shaq Barrett going down killed them because they won last year with great pressure on the quarterback and running the rock. And
with White
I don't think
Barrett
they're the same team.
Yeah. And Fournette does a lot for them. Really.
Playoff Fournette, man. He was spectacular last year. They even signed Le'Veon Bell off the bench.
I know. I saw that. Now, did he play last week against Carolina?
I didn't watch that game, so I'm not sure if he played, but they signed that dude off the street. Hey, how about that guy's career path? This guy has 1,500 yards one year, 700 yards in catching, and you're sitting there going like, this guy's one of the top 5 backs in the game, man.
Yep.
All of a sudden, he decided to sit out. He lost that $14 million. He takes less money, goes to the Jets, and no one's heard of him again. This guy's like in witness protection.
He did play. He had 2 carries for -1 yard.
Awesome. I'm sure he'll be a factor with Brady then.
Okay. yeah, right. What a good week's performance to get Brady to buy in.
Oh yeah, no, I'm sure Brady's got you like right in his radar right now.
Oh, man. All right, we're going to take a quick time out. We'll be back with a whole lot more here on The Middle, a special edition on a Tuesday with Dan Sileo and Harry Mays back in 3.